Good evening and welcome to the Gin and Tonic show on this Friday, the 5th of July. Welcome to you if you've just joined us. If you're in the chat, good evening to you. And of course, good evening to my co-host, Stop Spamming. How are you, my good sir?
Hi guys. Well. Okay.
Okay. I thought you were going to say something extra. You said like, well. And I was like waiting for the next sentence.
No, I can't think of anything clever to say, so I thought I'll just leave it.
Just for your information, we've just seen them. Well, Stop saw it last week. I think it's the first time I've started it again. Hangouts is going to be discontinued on August 1st, so we won't be able to run the show in this format. So we are looking at an alternative, and hopefully we'll get that up and running by the time August 1st comes around. So as always, Stops has got a couple of things to say before we get going.
Oh shit! I
It's not
totally
normally what he
forgot
says,
about this.
but that's fine too.
No, I'll just do it freelance, free lib. I think I can do that.
Ad-lib.
This is the Jinn&Tonic. No, I can't. Oh, fuck you, sideways. Okay, this is the Jinn&Tonic show. We, as you just heard, we believe very much in free speech. We like speaking our minds, and I'm a free speech absolutist, so I don't think that there is anything that we should not say or not be able to say. Now, what we do is we go and investigate, inspect, and research anything to do with Islam. So if you want to learn anything about Islam, if you want to know something, and if you want to investigate something, or if you've got a question, something, you're at the right place. Now, what we try and do is be as correct and as factual as possible, because I don't like to bring too much emotion into this, even though sometimes I get emotional myself. But here, I think facts and the comparison with reality, to reality, I think is the only way to go. And this is why we don't go and attack. We don't go and criticize or attack or whatever Muslims themselves. We differentiate between the ideology, and which is Islam, the political ideology Islam, and Muslims, the followers. And this is why we criticize the claims made by Muslims. And there, if you have some really dishonest and naive, ignorant fool who tells us something, I will call him a liar. I will call him an ignorant fool. But that is not that I'm attacking the person. I'm just attacking what he is saying, what she or he is saying, the content of what they are doing. And if somebody says something that has already been disproven millions of times, it's not really helpful to repeat this over and over again if it's already been disproven. And that's why sometimes I get a little bit strident and strict. Now, why I call it a political ideology is because Islam, number one, is split into two sections. One is the life here, which is supposed to be a test, and the hereafter. Number two, most of the commands that we find regard the life that we have here. In other words, the coexistence of society. Who has to do what? Who gets what punishment? Who inherits? Who is married in what way to whom? What does a contract look like? What does this? So everything has to do with the societal regulations today in this life. And that is why I call it a political ideology, because it's the politics of the whole thing. So this is what we do. We discuss Islam. We provide feedback to those who are not so lucky to have a scientific background and who make these claims out of sheer ignorance. And we try and give them correct feedback, but we are not experts. We are just looking at Islam. That is why, yes, we can also criticize the Christian gods or the Hindu gods or whatever gods, but there are lots of channels doing that. So we chose to focus on Islam, and that is our platform here, what we do. And this is what we're trying to do as well and as good and as accurately as is possible. And we're doing this for free. So we're not going to go begging for anything. We're just going to carry on providing you the contents. At the moment, we're reading the Quran, but we do take breaks. We do other things as well. So last week we had this wonderful discussion. This is something that is amazing. A lot of Muslim apologists are shit scared of ex-Muslims. This is why they so often come, well, he was not really a Muslim, because this is how this is mental masturbation. They're just trying to pacify themselves because they are so shit scared of ex-Muslims. Last week we had somebody who's really vocal, who's eloquent in the vocalization, and who has, in my eyes, very, straightforward and very, I don't know, very views that are not only make sense from a common sense point of view, but also go a little bit deeper. In other words, there's a lot of thought that went on here. There's a lot of background knowledge, a lot of research, a lot of, really real substance here. This is not just somebody who's talking, out of his ass or something, but this is really somebody, and this is Haris Sultan, and he introduced his book. We had a great conversation here. So we have changes. So if somebody has somebody that they want to see on the show, please do ask them and come back to us, and we will take it from there. Really, it's very welcome to have these breaks, because we're not only going to do one thing. Because I'm always saying, I actually hate this thing that, we are sort of giving a show, we are doing the stage down into the audience kind of a approach. I prefer this interaction. I prefer talking to people and getting their ideas. So it's always great if people come on the show and talk to us. That's it, actually.
Thank you, and good evening to Thunderous. How are you, my good sir?
Hey guys, all well and good. Glad to hear you too here tonight. And I think the only comment I want to make is, my two co-host panelists are the ones that criticize the God of the Bible, whereas I don't, because I accept the God of the Bible as truth. So not everybody on the panel is atheist, but that just goes to show that as an ex-Muslim, how varied the opinions are. You can be some looking from the outside in, but you actually have one or two people on the panel looking from the inside out, so that you're getting an unbiased point of view with reference from Islam.
Yes, I think we can equally critique it, right? So other worldviews can critique a particular worldview, right? So it doesn't mean we have to agree on everything, but I think we are agreed that Islam is likely not to be true, and a little bit more than that even.
And another point I'd like to just make here quickly, it shows that there is a great deal of tolerance here. Okay, so I can talk to Thunderous, I can sit down over a beer with him, we can talk about stuff. Just because we have different beliefs regarding gods doesn't mean that I think he's a terrible person. So I am tolerant enough to say, I will take Thunderous as a person as is, and Thunderous, on the other hand, is tolerant enough to sit with us, knowing full well that we are critical of his belief, but we're not really that, worried about it, because the consequences are so much different, so much less than they are with Islam. Because a belief does have consequences, and unfortunately with Islam, they are horrible, they are terrible, they are horrifying, because every single day there are people being killed by other Muslims. And this is the terrible thing. But this is why we are tolerant enough to tolerate those who are intolerant, but we do criticize them.
Yes, and just to say, I love my co-hosts here. I was accused of the gift of the gab, but I have a master. Only Stop Spamming can draw things out in such an eloquent way. For me, I'm more concise and terse, but I was amused that I was accused of the gift of the gab recently, and I said, well, you ain't seen nothing. Come and speak to my co-hosts, and you'll see I'm somebody who's a lot more concise. So I'm following the footsteps of masters.
I have changed a lot. No, because I was accused of being too short, too terse, too this, too much this.
Oh, really?
Because I'm jumping around. Yeah, because I have a brain problem that it's able to fill in the blanks in between spots which are very far apart. And because my brain does that, I'm expecting others to follow, which is not the case. And this is why I've been told to do more explaining. That's why I've become more vocal.
You've certainly done a good job of that.
Yeah.
Good. And if you've just joined us, welcome to the show. If you are a Muslim and you want to join us to give us your understanding of what we're going to read in the Quran, then let us know in the comments, and we can arrange to send you the link privately. We're not going to put it on the live chat. That just causes problems with potential trolls. Somebody in the chat is saying there, how about getting Tommy Robinson on the show? He knows more about Islam than most Muslims. That may or may not be true. I'm not sure if that is the case, but certainly he would be an interesting character to have on with regards to Islam. But I'm not sure that he. Well, maybe he does. Who knows? I don't know the breadth of his knowledge.
I think with Tommy Robinson, you get another perspective, and that is the impact that Islam has on communities. Coming from Luton, being born and bred as he is, he will have seen the diametrical change that has taken place within the community of Luton, and how it was once, say, predominantly an English town, a white town, a town where the majority of its adherents were indigenous, and now the influx of Islam and the way it kind of is very insular, and the impact that it's had in Luton. He's not just noticed that in his own town. He's noticed, obviously, he's recognising that taking place in other towns and cities as well. So he comes from a perspective of, well, you know, you're talking about cohesion and tolerance and that, and I am seeing something different from my own eyes and my own experience in my own country, and how Islam is gaining traction within, say, the media, within politics, and various other media forms of influence. So he has an experience that many people don't have, that many other people recognize, many other people are experiencing, but he's the voice of those people. You know, they look at him and say, yeah, you say what we think and you say what we feel. So there is an advantage with Tommy Robinson.
Somebody else asked there to invite Pat Condell. Yes, we could do that as well. I've watched some of Pat's videos. Yeah, every now and again he'll put out a video. I'm guessing they're scripted videos because he's looking at the camera, right? But it's quite rare now. I don't see it very often.
No, he has slowed down, but I noticed in his last one, the first thought that came to my mind was he's not looking well. He looked, he deteriorated in health. Maybe it's just me the way I saw it, but it looked like he may have been, you know, not very well in recent years, and maybe that has had an impact on him because his productivity has slowed down. It's not as much. You might get one or two videos in a year, whereas before you had one every sort of 6-8 weeks.
That's right. All right, shall we get into the verses?
Sorry, there's one more thing, a quick one. I was asked, what are the signs of the end days, the judgment day? Thunderous, can you mute yourself, because you're always giving feedback? I don't know why. The way that, I mean, I looked at this and I found so many different answers to this question. So it's a case of a very simple question, very, very difficult answer. One that I found, which I will share with you quickly because it's the shortest, is I will narrate to you a hadith, and none other than I will tell you after it. I heard Allah's apostle saying, from among the portents of the hour are the following. Number 1, religious knowledge will decrease. Number 2, religious ignorance will prevail. Number 3, there will be prevalence of open illegal sexual intercourse. 4, women will increase in number and men will decrease in number, so much so that 50 women will be looked after by one man. This is the signs of the end time.
Well, I guess we've got a long way to go before 50 women are looked after by one man. So the end times, according to that hadith, is some long way away.
Yes. Okay. Anyway, it's very funny because there's so many different ones and different. So there is no answer to the question, what are the signs of the end days? Because there's millions of them.
And they're very vague anyway, especially according to the Quran. What?
And contradicting.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can go and pick, and it's very difficult to get a worldwide view. So are you specifically referring to Arabia or some other part of the world or the entire world? And, you know, you can do snapshots across history and find those things to be the case, right? So when you've got vague things like that, you can always cherry pick an idea and say, hey, that's what matches that hadith, right? So, yeah, we can't take that. If it said, no, 21st of November 2012, aka this thing that was supposed to happen, right, then we've got a date. It comes, something happens, right, it's correct, it doesn't, we know it's false, right? That's a falsifiable claim, right? Gives a date and a time, and it's remarkably these hadiths and the Quran's so-called, what do you call them? Not premonitions, prophecies. are just so vague that they could, apart from the 3 to 9 years, right? But again, is that the best that God could do? We can always go down that route, but suffice to say, I don't think any of us are impressed by the so-called prophecies of the Quran.
But you're missing the point, my dear brother, of the Islamic miracle that Allah has provided mankind called rhetorical devices, where one word can mean so many things. So a sentence can have 150,000 interpretations. So the prophecies are there, but you don't understand classical Arabic.
Oh yes, I did forget that one, of course. Forgive me for that, my ignorance on that particular one. Indeed. All right, let's get to the verse now. I have here, if I remember correctly, 3:19. Now, I think this was the last verse we had, because obviously we've had something in between this. So I'll just read it. I've got way too many translations here, so let me get rid of a few of these.
I've got 3:34.
Oh, we? Okay, no problem. Okay, you've got 3:34. Then let's go there then.
As the last sentence where Juvayriya bint al-Harith, young and beautiful chief's daughter or something.
Let me just add a translation here. So we've got Sahih International. Where are we? Where's Sahih International gone? Oh, there
It's
it is.
there.
Yeah, I'm looking for the corpus, right? So we've got that on top. There we go. So this was the last one then. Sahih International, descendants, some of them from others, and Allah is hearing and knowing. Yusuf Ali, offspring, one of another, and Allah heareth and knoweth things. Okay, so you've got that as the last one, yes?
That's what I have. I don't know
Cool.
if it's accurate. I don't know if it's correct. Does anybody remember? Shit.
No,
Can you just give us the tafsir to show if this is about the beautiful chief's daughter?
Seed is another birth, and the two types are formal and spiritual. Every prophet is a successor.
No.
No.
Because the one before that we had 3:18, and then on the 21st we went down to 3:34. That's what I wrote down.
Okay, cool. No, that's good. Right, let's move to 3:35 then. So Surah 3, verse 35, Sahih International. Mention, O Muhammad, when the wife of Imran said, "My Lord, indeed, I have pledged to you what is in my womb, consecrated for your service, so accept this from me. Indeed, you are hearing the knowing." Yusuf Ali, behold, a woman of Imran said, "O my Lord, I do dedicate unto thee what is in my womb for thy special service, so accept this of me, for thou hearest and knowest all things." So I wasn't with you for the last one. So I wonder if they're speaking about Mary here, or who's this? Let's have a quick look.
Well, you've got three.
Yes,
you've got Mary, you've got Moses, and you've got Aaron.
Okay, so Ibn Abbas seems to think it's the mother of Mary, and the wife of Imran, Hannah, the mother of Mary.
Okay, we need to explain that Isa has nothing to do with the Jesus. Okay, the Isa in the Quran is very different from the Jesus in the New Testament, because Isa lived like 1,300 years before Jesus as the daughter of Mary, who is the sister of Aaron and Moses and the daughter of Imran. And we need to understand this. He was not crucified. He was not this. He was so nothing of the Jesus in the New Testament fits, other than the daughter, that he's the son of Mary.
Okay, so we are speaking about Jesus here or not, according to this?
No, this is Mary.
Okay,
but Mary is the mother of Isa.
Yeah, okay.
Which is, it's the same thing. This is what Thundress always says. It's a mistake in the conception of Muhammad, who mistook, or who is his, because you have two Marys, okay, but he didn't understand that. The one Mary is the wife of Joseph, who gave this miraculous birth of Jesus. This was like, 2,000 years ago. And the other one is Mary, the daughter of Imran and sister of Aaron and Moses. So he mixed the two up.
Oh, okay. Thundress, you want to add anything there?
No, I think Stop's got it. This is yet again another classic example of names being mentioned, but Muhammad can't untie the two narrations, so he's relayed it the way that he thinks it should be. He's got two ideas mixed up, so he's kind of like convoluted the two and presented his own interpretation of what the story is. So that, yeah, as Stopper said, this is a pattern that we see over and again, where he doesn't separate two stories. He hears stories, and then he puts the two stories together and comes up with his own version. It's sort of like a very poor bastardization.
Yeah. Okay, good. Let's move on to 36. Sahih International. But when she delivered her, she said, "My Lord, I have delivered a female, and Allah was most knowing of what she delivered. And the male is not like the female, and I have named her Mary, and I seek refuge for her in you and for her descendants from Satan, the expelled, from the mercy of Allah." Yusuf Ali. When she delivered, she said, "O my Lord, behold, I am delivered of a female child, and Allah knew best what she had brought forth, and no wise is the male like the female. I have named her Mary, and I commend her and her offspring to thy protection from the evil one, the rejected." Okay. Baby girl. Okay, so this is the baby. I've named her Mary. Oh. Just having a look here to see if there's anything else additional that the tafsirs give.
I like this. Every baby cries because it's touched by Satan, except for Mary and her son.
As reported by the two hadiths. Okay, so she gave birth to this female. All right, let's just go back there. 337, Sahih International. So her Lord accepted her with good acceptance and caused her to grow in a good manner to put her in the care of Zechariah. Every time Zechariah entered upon her in the prayer chamber, he found her with provision. He said, "O Mary, from where is this coming to you?" She said, "It is from Allah. Indeed, Allah provides for whom he wills without account." Yusuf Ali. Right graciously did her Lord accept her. Okay, right graciously did her Lord accept her. He made her grow into purity and beauty. To the care of Zechariah, a different spelling there, she was assigned. Every time he entered her chamber to see her, he found her supplied with sustenance. He said, "O Mary, whence comes this to you?" She said, "From Allah, for Allah provides sustenance to whom he pleases without measure." Okay, so she's obviously claiming some sort of miracle. I wonder how come they get the spelling different between the two of them there.
One is the Arabic version.
Oh, is it? Okay.
But come on, I mean, I'm not asking too much. Just a pork chop and a brew. I mean, is that asking too much for a God? Is that really expecting too much? If all I'm saying is, "Come on, dear Lord, I'm hungry. Give me a pork chop and a beer." Is that asking too much? How come this God cannot do this?
Yeah, but even if you look at this, right, he found her supplied with sustenance. Where does your sustenance come from? From Allah. And he just sort of, well, we don't see it certainly in this verse, but I'd go, well, how do you know? Can you demonstrate that comes from Allah? Let's put some cameras in and see it magically appear. Or I'm going to sit by here and watch it magically appear. That would be, that would be a pretty good miracle. If I'm sitting there, and especially in those days where that would be unlikely to be able to be replicated, right? But it seems like...
But who's the audience, though, Robs and Stops? Who's the audience that he's trying to appeal to here? He's already, so thus far, we've been reading his appeal to the Jews. So who's he appealing to now? He's appealing to the Christians. So he's trying to, if you like, go along with what his limited knowledge is of the scriptures or the stories that he's heard about Jesus. So he's trying to appeal to the Christians now.
Okay, I'm sorry, Thunderous. I have to agree with you.
No need to be sorry about it.
Yeah, come on, of course. This is the thing. Mary needs to be somebody special. I mean, he must have realized by then that the people had this special feeling for Mary.
Yeah, so
No,
it's
and
trans-
they had a bigger appreciation for Jesus as well, because all Christianity, if you like, is based on the role model of Jesus. So he's got to try and shoehorn himself in there somewhere to try and appeal to them in order to pull them away to himself. He's got to appeal to them first, and that's exactly what he's attempting to do here.
Can you guys keep an eye on the chat there? I can't see it at the moment. So again, if you're a Muslim and you are watching and you want to join us, just let us know in the chat. And my co-host, hopefully, who can be seeing the chat because I'm sharing screen at the moment, we can find a way to get you onto the panel to give your views. Good. Okay, moving on. Whoa, how did I get to 411 suddenly?
Oh, and Beach, it's not a mistake. I mean, if you want to go and talk about Jesus, then yes, a lot of Muslims will call Isa the Arabic for Jesus, even though the two people are very, very different. It could be that, in fact, the name Isa stands for Jesus or Joshua or Jeshua, to be correct, in Arabic. I don't really know if this is the correct version or not.
Right, moving on to 337. So the Lord accepted and caused it. Oh, sorry, no, that's the same one. That was one short. 338. At that, Zechariah called upon his Lord, saying, "My Lord, grant me from yourself a good offspring. Indeed, you are the hearer of supplication." There did Zechariah pray to the Lord, saying, "Oh, my Lord, grant unto me from thee a progeny that is pure, for thou art he that heareth the prayer." So this Zechariah, who is he? Who is he supposed to represent in the Bible?
Zechariah was an old guy that was waiting for the promised one to turn up, basically to lay his eyes upon Jesus before he died.
Okay, so if we're following this, then this Zechariah, according to Muhammad, then is looking upon Mary, and this Mary is supposedly going to be the Mary, according to Muhammad, presumably who's going to give birth to Jesus. Is that where this is leading to?
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
And what is Zechariah's era?
Zechariah would have been an old man by the time that Jesus was born.
Yeah, but hang on. Zechariah belongs into the New Testament?
No, he's a Jew, but you have to bear in mind that he's mentioned in the New Testament because he's told, he's spoken of seeing Jesus before he dies. So that is all mentioned in the from Genesis onward. Oh, sorry, not Genesis, sorry, Matthew onwards. But don't quote me on my mind at the moment. I didn't expect to. I should have read this actually before, and then I'll have had the scriptures ready.
No. It's okay. It's just in case you know, because I'm very curious about this, because then this would be something that Muslim apologists can come up with and say, no, you've got it wrong, because here, this is a confirmation that Zechariah was living around plus minus, I don't know, 20 or 30 BCE, and he had every reason to want to see Jesus before he died. So this then contradicts the story that we are talking about Moses, which is like 1300 years difference.
I'm just actually going to find the scriptures now for the.
How does it contradict this? How does it contradict Moses? Stops.
Because he is 1300 years after Moses. If Mary is the sister of Moses, then Moses would be the uncle of Jesus. But this is like when 1300 BCE. And if this guy is living 20 BCE, that's a huge difference.
But which historical book which book makes the claim that Mary is the son of Moses? Sorry, the daughter of Moses.
We just read this.
Yeah, but you're saying, but there's a massive gap there, right?
Right, because Imran is the father of Moses. And if Mary is the daughter of Imran, then she must be Moses's sister.
Ah, right, I see. But that throws out the historical timeline then, right?
Exactly.
Right.
This is why I'm saying there is nothing in common between Jesus and Isa, because Isa supposedly lived 1300 years before Jesus, because he was the nephew of Moses and Aaron. the daughter of Mary, who was the daughter of Imran. But then this is 1300 years ago. But here, if Zechariah is somebody who was waiting for Jesus or Isa to be born, then this is a contradiction, like an anachronism.
I must make a retraction on that. I've got the problem with the bloody Hebrew names is they all sound the same. They all rhyme with Aya and Maya and Kaya and Zechariah and Barakiah and such. So I've got it wrong. I stand to be corrected on that. But the timeline that you're talking about is still out, because the book of Zechariah, there's a book of Zechariah. I'll get the date on when that was allegedly written from your perspective. For me, it's not a legend, but you'll have to give me a moment. Okay.
That would be great. Thanks. Yeah, apostate prophet. We talked about this, and he was very surprised. And this is something that is known. I mean, everybody and whatever has come across this, that there's a huge problem here, and Muslims have no answer because there's nothing that they can do about this. In Christianity, Zechariah is the father of John the Baptist. Okay, so this would then put it in line with Jesus again and not in line with Isa. Oh, goodness. Because if my memory serves me right, John the Baptist is a contemporary of Jesus, right?
Yeah, that's my understanding. Yeah, which is a long...
I knew I had it right. So it's all he is John the Baptist's father. Sorry, I make a retraction yet again. I wasn't wrong. I was right.
So you're retracting the retraction.
The retraction, yeah. Of course it is. He's John the Baptist's father. I knew he saw Jesus at some point. So yeah. So it depends which Zechariah he's talking about now. He's obviously there's the Zechariah that is John the Baptist's father, but then there's also the book of Zechariah, the prophet. So who is Muhammad referring to here?
Ah, okay. So this could be another mistake.
Yes. So when you're looking at the two time scales, whether he's referring to the prophet who wrote the book of Zechariah, he's got it wrong, and whether he's talking about John the Baptist's father Zechariah, he's still got it wrong. So he's damned in that one, and he's damned in the other one as well.
Okay, because then if Zechariah is the father of John the Baptist, how would he know Mary? I mean, Mary was like what, 12, 13 years old or something when John the Baptist was around.
No, because there's only 6 months difference between Jesus and John the Baptist in age.
Oh, I thought there was more of a difference.
No, there's only 6 months difference because there's the account. Well, I know you don't want the apologetics, I'm not, but just for the sake of this discussion.
No, this is facts, yeah.
If you go to the biblical narrative, when Mary meets Zechariah's wife and both of them are pregnant, the account talks about the two babies sort of like getting excited in the womb. So both women were pregnant at the same time with 2 children, though one 6 months older than the other.
And by the way, did you just read what was in Ibn Kathir?
No, I didn't.
Rob was just going, and if you go a little bit down, I just saw it. His name is Yahya. Okay, a little bit more. Something about Mary and the Son. Allah statement. Down. There's no refrain. Benefit of Yahya. Okay, there we go. So this good news was even better news than that of Yahya's birth. In a similar statement, Allah said to the mother of Musa, "Verily we shall bring back to you and shall make him one of the messengers." So when Zechariah heard, so there must be a Zechariah either then or this was another mistake. And now if you go down,
how far?
Lord, make a sign for me, make a sign that a child will come. Your sign, you shall not speak for 3 days. So he's now talking about the story of Mary, the mother of Isa, the way that it is described in the Quran. So your sign is that you shall not speak to the people for 3 days except by signals. And then commanded go down, go down, go down, go down, go down. Where was this? We'll elaborate more on the subject in the beginning of Surah Maryam, Allah willing. Somewhere there was that this is the Mary that gave birth to Isa. And this is exactly the whole story. This is a whole big mix-up in the understanding of the birth of or Jesus, Isa, and the Mother Mary, because this is very, very clear that Muhammad mixed the two up. A case of mistaken identity.
Okay.
And I think it's also worth mentioning as well in this instance that when you look at how Muhammad is trying to appease to the Christians about Satan won't touch Jesus as a baby, he has all these miracles. Now, he really, you know, for Muhammad to be the 124,000th prophet, the seal of the prophets, the mercy to mankind, he's had quite a treacherous life in comparison to Jesus. Jesus is the one born of a virgin. He confirms all those sort of things that are important to the Christians. Yet, if you looked at it objectively between the two men and their life course, given what's in the Bible and actually what's in the Quran as well about Jesus, then you look at Muhammad, you would have to think, well, where would you put your money on as to who the prophet is if you had to put your life on it? Where would you put your money between these two men, even just based on the Islamic sources?
Sorry, you're asking us, or?
Well, yeah, I'm saying that.
No, it's just a general question.
Yeah.
It's a rhetorical question for the audience as well. That when you look at it, Muhammad's really trying to appease to the Christian audience there by really agreeing, yes, Satan, didn't get to touch Jesus. He's born pure, and all these sorts of things. He's trying to appeal to them. But why is he going that far to try and appeal them? But then the Quran talks about Muhammad being the mercy to mankind, and Allah keeps giving him all these blessings about wives and sex and abrogation and the satanic verses and such that he gets forgiven for. All these things, and you look at them and think, well, hang on a minute here. When you read the account in the Quran and Islamic sources about Jesus and about Muhammad, who really, if you believe in God, fits the role of a prophet between the two of them? Even if you just went by the Islamic sources on their own.
Yeah, certainly seems jumbled. But you wouldn't know this if you had no knowledge at all, right? So you'd have to do the comparison with what the previous history says, right, to notice a difference. Because if you were just a Christian that was floating about but didn't know much of the history, right, then, because there's many Christians even today, I'm sure you'd be aware, Thunderous, that don't really know the Bible or the history as well as you do and so forth. So, and I meet them and I listen to them regularly, right? So if they listen to you, they'd get more information, right? They just don't know any of these things. So somebody came along and said this, they wouldn't know the difference.
But this is exactly what you have with Muslims. This is, it goes to the old sort of like phrase that many people have. Not only do I have to tell you what I believe, I have to tell you what you believe, because you don't know what you believe and you don't know what I believe either. So you're giving them a two-course education, what they believe and what you believe.
Mm.
And it's the same thing, sadly, with many Christian denominations as well. Their background is no different to the Muslims. They're just brought up in an environment that they know no difference of.
That's right. Okay, let's go on to 39. Sahih International. So the angels called him while he was standing in prayer in the chamber. Indeed, Allah gives you good tidings of John, confirming a word from Allah, and who will be honorable, abstaining from women, and a prophet from among the righteous. Yusuf Ali. While he was standing in prayer in the chamber, the angels called unto him, Allah doth give thee glad tidings of Yahya, witness the truth of a word from Allah, and be besides noble, chaste, and a prophet, of the goodly company of the righteous. Goodness.
This is John the Baptist.
Yeah, that's what I just want to see here.
Can somebody explain what you've just read? I don't understand a word.
Yeah, it's terribly bad translation in the sense of it trying to be clear and concise English, right? So here Ibn Abbas is saying the angel Gabriel called upon him in the mosque, a son whose name is John. There we go, as Thunderous was saying, presumably John the Baptist, who cometh to confirm a word of Allah, Jesus the son of Mary, that he will be the word from Allah, created without a father, who is clement when wronged. Clement? Sure, that means something. Chaste, that has no desire for women. Okay, yeah, sure. And a prophet of the righteous.
You can see how he's appealing there, because when you look at Jesus' baptism, just before Jesus gets baptized, you get John the Baptist turn around and say, look, the Lamb of God come in. Yeah, so you get all this. What you're getting here is Muhammad's what he's heard the Christians say about John the Baptist and Jesus, and he's kind of like formed his own narrative from what he's heard.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I mean, the way it's written here in both of these things, surely you can explain this much more simply, right? And if the Quran is this beautiful work of poetry and only certain Muslims can understand it, obviously that's problematic. So any translation that's a head scratcher like this, right, that you've got to go to tafsirs, right? So that's always been my contention, and I think you guys agree, right? If you gave this book in any version of this translation to any person that could understand English and had no tafsirs, had no references, had no scholars, they would be baffled by this sort of thing, especially if they didn't have any other, if they weren't a Christian. If we gave this to people on an island, or we gave this to the Red Indians or the people on this island, right, that sort of unfortunately killed that Christian missionary, or the Aborigines, right, who don't have any of this, even if they had a belief in some sort of creator, right, and they could understand this in their own language, or let's say English, right, they would be baffled. I don't know how anybody could make sense of this without all this extra information, right? So
that's why the tafsirs were there, because for the first 400 years of Islam, nobody knew what was going on. And that's why they needed the tafsir, to try and abridge the Hadith and the Quran, to try and make some sense out of this mess that is Islam. That's why. So you have to ask the question: what were they believing for the first 400 years of Islam after Muhammad died?
And this is why I like the translation interpretation by Rashid Khalifa. The angels called him while he was praying in the sanctuary. God gives you good news of John, a believer in the word of God, honorable, moral, and a righteous prophet. Very straightforward, but it's not what it says in the Quran. But he makes some sense out of it. So if you don't understand it, just read what he does. He's much better than the tafsir.
Yeah, but I mean, like you say, he's not accurately, translating the Quran. He is translating a version of his interpretation of the Quran, right? So that's
exactly.
And the irony is in all of this, that for the first 400 years, there was no understanding of what Islam was. And those who did have an understanding thought, what a convoluted mess this is. So you have the tafsirs try and make an abridgment between the Hadith and the Quran, because nobody can make sense of what's going on where. So they come in and, we've discussed this already with the tafsirs that we've looked at in the past, where they extrapolate numbers, and they extrapolate, what you call it, backgrounds, the ethnicity of certain accounts and peoples and whatnot. From thin air. There's no source material where they can turn around and say, this is the conclusion we came to based on this, that, or the other. There's nothing in antiquity, archaeology, or history for them to form their conclusions. So they're extrapolating it, they're making up as they're going along. And this is why today you're finding more and more Muslims walking away from the Hadith, walking away from the tafsir, because they've got no choice to, because of the stupidity and contradiction and lies and fake history and narrative that's contained therein, which is why you're finding that Islam now is slowly becoming Quranist only, which in itself, sorry, go on.
But the problem with that is that you need to redo a whole lot of the Quran. You need to rewrite a whole lot, because in the chat now, Daffy got a heart from Daily Muslim because he said that music was haram. Now, how do you make music haram? You can't. You can't do it from the Quran. You need the Hadith. So if you read the Quran, you will never get to the conclusion that music is haram. So what you are doing is you are contradicting every single Sunni on this planet who will, of course, say that music is haram. And it doesn't say this in the Quran. And so the Quranist has to do a whole lot of reinterpretation and rewriting of the Quran, unfortunately.
Yeah. But and to Thunderous's point, what were they doing for the first 400 years? Presumably none of this mattered, right? In the sense that people were, if they passed down, hey, you've got to pray, you've got to do the 5 pillars, that might have been easy enough for people to send down, through the generations. But as soon as people went, okay, there must be more to this, right? With all of this sort of stuff, that's where presumably the problems came in. So the Bedouins floating about in Arabia, virtually all of them, I think we could probably imagine, didn't care about this. This wasn't of importance to them. They just wanted to know, what do they need to do on a daily or weekly or yearly or within their life, to follow in Muhammad's footsteps. And all of this sort of stuff is just window dressing for them.
And this goes contrary to what the claim is, that this is a very clear, easy to understand book, which is giving people guidance for the test that they will have to pass in order to get to paradise.
Yeah. And, obviously I think, as far as we can tell, the Quran wasn't collated directly after Muhammad's death or even during his lifetime, right? So at what period did we have a complete Quran for people to start reading?
1924 Cairo edition.
So was there nothing before that stop? So what about Uthman?
No.
What
No.
version of the Quran was
we don't
that?
have this. We only have incomplete versions. What people are always saying, well, for example, the old versions in Tashkent and that, they're not complete. So the first complete Quran we have only from something from the 10th century onwards, and then the way that it was then officially released was in the Cairo edition that was in 1918, and then it was released for the first time in 1924. And this is the so-called Cairo edition. This is the first officially released Quran.
And who's the translator of that?
No, Arabic.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and they're finding now, aren't they, through our with new finds that in places and such, that the Arabic differs from other Arabic translation, other Arabic
versions. Like the Tashkent one in 37 says that they were Muslims, and in the 1924 edition says they were not Muslims. So this is a very clear contradiction between the two versions, between the Tashkent version and the 1924 Cairo version, which we have today. So there is a total, it's not a matter of there is not a single letter different. No, it's a total contradiction between not Muslim and Muslim. It's a very different statement.
And I actually can write in Urdu and Arabic, though I can only write the alphabet. I can't write joined words such. But I do understand the point of diacritical marks that give you the pronunciation. Like in Urdu, it's the zafar zir pesh, and wherever you put those little symbols determines how you pronounce the consonant.
Yeah, but also the word they were they were victorious and they were not victorious, or they were defeated. The difference between the two is only a small diacritical marking,
yeah.
Or if this is not there, you have to take it out of the context, which is very difficult at times. This is the problem, and nobody knows who actually invented these diacritical markings to say what they are saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it seems the historical thing, contrary to some Muslim claims, is not so strong after all. But I don't think we would have accepted it to be strong anyway.
Yeah, but Rob, this is why Islam is so easily refuted and defeated, and because there are no real good arguments, and you can come up with all these counter arguments and all these counter examples to really take them apart. It's so easy.
Okay, let's move on to. Sorry, go ahead.
No, carry on.
Okay, let's go to 340. Sorry, International. He said, "My Lord, how will I have a boy when I have reached old age and my wife is barren?" The angel said, "Such is Allah. He does what he wills." Yusuf Ali. He said, "Oh, my Lord, how shall I have a son, seeing I am very old and my wife is barren?" Thus was the answer. Doth Allah complete what Allah willeth? Obviously, Gabriel, according to the previous verse, or the tafsir rather, because it's not explicit in the Quran, right, that it's Gabriel, so we had to appeal to the tafsirs. Presumably they'll say it again here. Yep, there we go, Gabriel. Again, if Gabriel was mentioned in the Quran, that would be better than he said, and this one said, right? Gabriel said unto Musa, right? Blah, 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 right? Then you know what you're saying. But now you've got to go and appeal. And that's why I find this tremendously, he said, "My Lord, I shall have a boy." And if you're just reading this, like you're going, who is he speaking about, right? If you knew about Christianity or some history, you go, okay, I can kind of work this out. But without.
Hello?
Or at least tafsirs is required just to understand what they claim is the case.
But the thing is, though, you see, when I go through the Quran and looking at accounts like this, I have to ask the question: why have these verses been in heaven alongside Allah as uncreated words since before the universe was created? What is the point at this moment in time, or at that moment in time when Muhammad was revealing these ayat? What's the point of repeating a narrative that's already been revealed? Let's assume he's got the accuracy there and he's repeating what's in the previous scriptures. What's the point? If this is the last book of Testament, what is the advantage of repeating what's already been written? Where is the something new here?
Yeah, and I guess, you know, if this version of the book was in heaven, but not the Bible or other books, or maybe there were, I mean, I don't know that he claims that, right? But if this book in its entirety, as we are reading it now, supposedly was in heaven for all time, then he could have referred to other books. He could have given you the exact book, correct? And he could have said this. But as to your question, yeah, why would he be repeating this? If the other book, if all he really needed to do was, quote unquote, according to Muslims anyway, correct whatever was mistaken from the previous books, right? He didn't need to redo that, because if the other parts of the books were correct, then there's no point in repeating that. He could have referred to that, right? But maybe the response would be, hey, those books are, you know, they're all over the show. It would be confusion as to which bit's corrupted, which isn't. So we're going to repeat that over again and just give it to you all again in this new final version. That might be what they could say.
Yeah, but that would only work if there's evidence that they're already all over the show. They'd have to be all over the show for him to come and correct it. But they're not. They're not all over the show, and Allah would know that.
Well, obviously, that's the Muslim claim, right? That there's corruption in the previous books. So that's what they could argue from. I mean, obviously, yes, we're not going to agree with that, but that would be the argument. Hey, there's this corruption, so I do need to repeat it so that you've got this one book that's, quote unquote, got all this information in, so you don't have to go and appeal to the Bible or, you know, other books or the Torah or whatever. Hey, I've got it all here, right? I've collated all of that and I've got rid of the, quote unquote, corruption, and here you've got it all. So that's maybe what a response would be. I'm sure you wouldn't accept it, but that's maybe what they could say here as to why it's been repeated.
That's it, you see, because this has been my arguments with every Muslim that I've ever spoken to, including my own family and community. Well, either Muhammad's a false prophet and the Bible hasn't been corrupted, or the Bible has been corrupted and Muhammad's a true, and Muhammad then is by implication a true prophet. But the fact of the matter is, you've got to prove one or the other. If you can't prove the first point, which is the natural default given the differences between the two books, and this is what we're finding when we're looking at accounts like this. What is the benefit of this account? Where is the advantage in this? He's not clearing up a mess, because there has to be a mess in the present in the first place for him to come along and clean it up. There isn't one, so that's refuted. Okay, then so why is it in heaven before the universe was created? This verse here, where is it? What advantage did it give Muhammad? What advantage did it give to the first, second, or third generation, the purest for Muslims that have ever existed since the revelation of the Quran? No advantage. What advantage did it give to the tafsirs when they were writing the tafsirs and abridging the Quran and Hadith? None. What advantage is it giving to mankind today for those, the 1.2, 7, or 5, whatever the number is of Muslims today? What advantage is it giving them? None. So what's the point of the verse? And Allah should know that if he's the God.
Well, that is an interesting point, right? So if it's existed, you know, alongside Allah for all time, then it existed before the corruption of the other books, right? So clearly, Allah knew the other books were going to be corrupted, right? And then had to bring this book along. So why allow the corruption in the other books and have all of this confusion? So did he allow the corrupt, quote unquote, if we're assuming this is even, you know, charitably the case, right? So he's allowed this corruption so that he could bring another book with a final prophet. Or he could have just given the first books without corruption and allowed that to be the final prophet. So it seems like this is almost like a game that's going on here, if this has all been written prior to any of this actually happening.
If it was a law to benefit the community or society, and that was revealed by the 123,909 prophets that Muhammad claimed went before him, so he's coming along to clear up some kind of law or some kind of guidance that was going to benefit the individual, the family, the community, or mankind. You can understand then why the cleanup needs to take place, because it's going to be beneficial. This account here gives no benefit. There is no advantage to the individual, to the family, to the community, and to mankind. Yet it's been in heaven before the universe was ever created. What is the point?
Want to add anything, Stops?
No. Look, as soon as you start using logic, it's the whole thing goes down the drain.
All right, let's do 41. 341, Sai International. He said, "My Lord, make for me a sign." He said, "Your sign is that you will not be able to speak, not be you will not be able to speak, or you will not speak to the people for 3 days except by gesture. And remember your Lord much and exalt him with praise in the evening and the morning. Yusuf Ali, he said, "O my Lord, give me a sign." Thy sign, was the answer. Thy sign shall be that thou shalt speak to no man for 3 days but with signals. Then celebrate the praises of thy Lord again and again, and glorify him in the evening and in the morning. So can you guys, who have obviously looked into some of these things a bit more than I have, what is the point of the sign being that he cannot speak to people for 3 days? Why that sign as opposed to like stars in the sky or whatever?
No, this is total bullshit. I mean, give me a sign, all right? If I'm telling to somebody, give me a sign, and he says, well, your sign is that you have to go and write an essay. That's stupid. Okay, so right off the bat, this is ridiculous. The next thing is, he is telling Mary that you will have you need to keep quiet for 3 days, and you can only participate through sign language because, and this is how you need to understand the whole background. Mary is supposed to be a virgin. Mary is pregnant. Now, how the hell do you get pregnant if you are not married to somebody? So the whole village is looking down on Mary, thinking that she's a prostitute. How can she be a virgin and be pregnant at the same time? It doesn't work. So she must have had, some sort of a sexual relationship, which was not deemed legal in the eyes of Islam. And this is why she is now being separated from the village. She's taken out of the village, and so that she does not have to justify herself. All she has to do is keep quiet and then go back to the people and say, lo and behold, this was a wondrous sign. I was a virgin, and maybe I'm a virgin again, I don't know. But I have given birth to this son, and the son is a miracle in itself because he has only been born 1 or 2 days and he can speak in the cradle. So this is a way of taking Mary into protective custody, putting a barrier between her and the people of her village so that she can't talk to them.
Okay, but he's the guy that's not talking, not her.
No,
right?
Mary.
Right?
Mary.
Oh, is this? But he said, "My Lord, appoint me a sign, and your sign is that you will not speak to the people for 3 days."
No, he said, "My Lord." Oh, it's true. I thought it said his Lord. I thought this is God speaking.
No, well, God is speaking to him. Is that how you understand it, Andres? That God is speaking to not to Mary, but
to Zechariah.
Zechariah, yeah.
Yeah, I read it as Zechariah because I think there is an account. He's repeating a narrative that's already been revealed, but he's giving his own twist on it.
Because I just know the story, but I don't know how this now fits in. Let me see what my friend Mr. Rashid is saying.
Okay.
The angels called him when he was praying. God gives you good news of John, a believer. He said, how can I have a boy when I'm so old and my wife is sterile? He says, God does whatever he wills. Give me a sign. Okay, sorry, my mistake. My mistake. This is to Zechariah. The same story happens with Mary later.
Okay, but what's the point of doing this, I guess, is the question.
Because when God said that to Zechariah that your wife's going to become pregnant, in the biblical narrative, God mutes Zechariah for a period of time.
Why does he do that, Andres? Is it explained what the point of that is?
Well, I haven't got it to hand.
Okay. No, I'm just interested.
The reason why I don't bring too much out from the Bible is because we don't want to go and upset the viewers with what has been perceived in the past as me doing apologetics. Hence why I just bring out only the little tidbits that I think are relevant. What I'm going to say from this point is that for those who want to read chapter 1 of the book of Luke, or certainly 1 or 2 chapters of the book, chapter 1, chapter 2, they'll find the narrative there about Zechariah, the incident with Zechariah, Mary, and so on and so forth. Is there? Yeah.
No, I'm just wondering why what this particular sign is, right? If he said, for example, I give you the sign of like X-ray vision, and you will see a child within the womb of Mary. That would have been, oh wow, I've been given like a miracle where I can see the child should have been birthed. That would sort of be relatable, but the 3 sort of days of silence. I'm wondering how that relates, right? It just seems like kind of pretty random, I guess. That was the question I had around that.
Well, I think if you go to the biblical narrative, the point is when God said to Zechariah, your wife's going to give birth to John the Baptist, or your wife is going to get pregnant, she's barren, but she's going to have a child at their late age. God, Zechariah laughs at God about it, not in a mocking way, but almost like in a moment of disbelief. So God sort of like stuns him with silence for a period of time until the child's born.
Okay, right. Okay.
And
yeah, so there's more to it, which is obviously not included in here. So when I'm reading it here, I'm going, that doesn't really make much sense. What's the point of doing this?
But this is the point I'm trying to get at. Muhammad doesn't know. He just knows something happened in that period of time because he knows the stories, but he doesn't know the whole story or why the story is the way that it is. So he's filling in the gaps himself, or he's trying to make it up as he goes along with a little bit of information that he has.
Okay, let's go to 342. And
I'm feeling highly embarrassed that I mixed up the stories.
Not to worry.
Don't worry, Scott. I've done it tonight as well with Zechariah. I got my prophet and the father of John mixed up.
But I'm sitting here with a purple face.
Nobody can see you, so it's all good. All right, 342. Sai International. And mention when the angel said, "O Mary, indeed Allah has chosen you and purified you and chosen you above the women of the world." Yusuf Ali, behold, the angel said, "O Mary, Allah hath chosen thee and purified thee, chosen thee above the woman of all the nations." Okay, seems pretty.
Yeah, but which Mary is he talking about? Are we still on Imran? Because this is still Al-Imran. The number 3 chapter is called Al-Imran, and now suddenly we are jumping to the Mary of Jesus, like 1,500 years later.
Yeah, the association of partners, he has saved you from being killed at the time of your birth of Jesus, right? So he's saying it's Jesus. Abbas is saying it's Jesus. Jalalain doesn't actually mention there. Ibn Kathir. This is 342 to 344.
And here you see, Ibn Kathir says the best woman at that time was Maryam, daughter of Imran. And the best woman is Khadija, and so on. And now he's jumping from Abu Musa. Then if you go down, Maryam, daughter of Imran.
Yeah, so the tafsirs, would I be correct in saying here that the tafsirs are disagreeing with each other? One tafsir is referring to a different Mary, the other tafsir is referring to
well,
Mary.
It depends. If he jumps now to the other one as well, then it's again Maryam, daughter of Allah states is might creating a son inside her without and now he's jumping. He's also jumping. Allah states that the angels commanded Maryam to increase acts of worship, humbleness, and submission, that she would acquire what Allah had decreed for her as a test for her. This test, higher grade than life, demonstrated his might by creating a son inside her without male intervention. So now suddenly he's also jumping 1,500 years from daughter of Imran, which it says there, Maryam, the daughter of Imran, to the mother of Jesus. So this is anachronism.
This woman is. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
The thing is, it says there, right, as well about Mary being purified. Allah has purified you. So in what way has Allah purified Mary? What was her state before, and what was the purification process?
Well, that's what I was referring to earlier, that she is able to conceive even though that she's a virgin. And this is like... And I don't know if this will come up now. The way that she is impregnated is like a source of high embarrassment for Muslims.
Okay, well, let's see what it sort of tells us here. 343. O Mary, be devoutly obedient to your Lord and prostrate and bow to those who bow with those who bow in prayer. Yusuf Ali, O Mary, worship thy Lord devoutly, prostrate thyself, bow in prayer with those who bow down. Okay, seems pretty straightforward. Let's go to 344. Sai International. That is from the news of the unseen, which we reveal to you, O Muhammad. And you were not with them when they cast their pens as to which of them should be responsible for Mary, nor were you with them when they were disputed. Yusuf Ali. This is part of the tidings of the things unseen, which we reveal unto thee by inspiration. Thou wast not with them when they cast lots with arrows, as to which of them should be charged with the care of Mary, nor wast thou with them when they disputed the point.
What's this going on?
Yeah, what
this
is
is
this got to do
another
with anything?
600-year jump now.
What's the point of this? I mentioned the story of, this was mentioned of the story of the things that were unknown to you, O Muhammad. He says, we sent Gabriel to you with the rabbis, and they threw their pens in the flow of water. Okay, they talked about quivers there, arrows, right? So he's talking about pens here. Which of them should be guardian of Mary, to train her? Quarreled, each giving argument for his better claim to be Mary's guardian. That this was mentioned. So why is this? How's this relevant? What's the point of this?
It's
Telling
not.
Muhammad he wasn't there. Oh, maybe if you're charitable, maybe this is to show Allah's power, right? So Muhammad wasn't there, so he's speaking to the Christians, as you would have said, thunderous, and he's telling them something that he didn't know. So maybe the idea is that they're trying to get across here is that he's telling them something that he didn't know. But if it had happened in the past, you would be skeptical that he didn't know, right? It would be better if he could tell you something that was going to happen in the future, right? But maybe the claim is that he didn't know this, and he's telling people as if it's just been revealed to him. But even that's not particularly strong. But I'm just trying to speculate as to why they.
Well, if you go back to what your comment was earlier, Robs, when you turn around and says that when you speak to some Christians, they don't even know that much about their own faith. You could almost see that's exactly what Muhammad was doing here with a few vague stories that he knew to some of those who didn't know the realities of what they believe. So he's kind of telling them what they believe, because he's making out he knows what they believe, but he's relying on their ignorance of what their own belief is.
Okay, but the way that I read this, it also says here that you cannot ask Muhammad any questions because he doesn't know anything about this. He just learned this through revelation, and that's it.
But it's kind of like a pointless revelation. There's no advantage
yeah.
information, because all it does, at best, all it does is repeat what they already know. And so where's the advantage for Muhammad, his audience, first, second, and third generation of Islam, up until the tafsirs come along and try and abridge everything? And where's the advantage today for the Muslim that reads this? What is the advantage? Where's the benefit?
Yeah. And Beach has a very filthy, dirty mind. I love it. We're please casting lots for Mary. You know what is funny? Every time it says, well, prostrate yourself, it's always like prostitute yourself. It's very difficult for me to keep the two words apart when I'm sort of scanning text. Okay, does this mean that Rob has taken a sabbatical?
I think it does, because something went off like a phone.
The problem is that he hasn't stopped presenting, so I cannot take over. I do suspect a priest got her pregnant, not an angel. Yeah, this is okay. This is the story of great embarrassment, because apparently this is the according to the story is that an angel came down and he gave her a blowjob. So he blew into her crevice, or whatever you want to call this. And Muslims are not quite sure what this is. And this is why they came up with, this is the back, the neck of a garment, or this is a gap in the front of a garment, or something like this. So nobody really knows what the Quran was talking about when he was mentioning this. So this is quite weird. You're claiming that making rhymes is a miracle, and I have proved it isn't. It's okay, true. I do suspect the priest got her pregnant, not an angel. Well, we don't know. I reckon it was a Roman soldier, to be honest. Yeah, it could be. There's a lot of stories going around here.
Isn't that already in the Jewish Talmud that it was a Roman centurion, Panterus or something like that got Mary pregnant with Jesus? It's in the book Jesus in the Talmud, and I think one of the accounts.
Jesus is in the Talmud.
Yeah, there's a book called Jesus. It takes all the stories that are in the Talmud pertaining to Jesus, puts them in one concise book in an order. It's designed, if you like, to show how the Jews hated Jesus and how they put him in the righteous. Because you have Jesus in hell in the Jewish Talmud, roasting in hot boiling excrement.
Guys, I've just got to deal with something quickly. So what I can do is just go on to the next verse and stop, see if you and Thunderous can read the next verse, and I should be back with you momentarily.
I'll just do the presentation.
Okay, can you share screen and do that?
Yeah. I'll just go to 344. I just need to find it.
Okay, I'll be back shortly, and then I'll be with you. So give me a few moments.
Here we go. Now I just need to go back here. I need to go screen share, application window, click, share, and there we go. Can you see this?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, all I need to do is I need to go back to the Hangout and click on myself so that this stays up all the time. All right, there we go. So if we go to the next one, I just need to find the one now again. This is now got too many windows open again. There we go. So this is 344, okay? So in Sahih International, it says, that is from the news of the unseen, which we revealed to you, O Muhammad, and you were not with them when they cast their pens. This is 344. This is what we were just reading, right?
145.
So I need to go one further. 145. There we go. I thought I clicked on myself so that I don't constantly get your feedback. No, it is on me. So why am I constantly, are you getting into the foreground? I don't know. All right. So 45. When the angel said, O Mary, indeed Allah gives you good tidings of a word from him whose name will be the Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, distinguished in this world and the hereafter and among those brought near. Behold, and Yusuf Ali makes the same sentence to read, behold, the angel said, O Mary, Allah giveth thee glad tidings of a word from him. His name will be Christ Jesus, the son of Mary, held in honor in this world and the hereafter, and of those nearest to Allah. This actually sounds like New Testament material, doesn't it?
But the thing is, you see, his name isn't that, though, is it? He's saying his name will be Christ Jesus. Well, in those days, you didn't have a surname. You just had a name, your first name, your only name, like Jesus, Muhammad, and whatnot, Elijah. You only had one name as your title. Yeah, it says here, you read from Yusuf Ali, his name will be Christ Jesus. Well, Christ isn't even a name, it's a title, like King Jesus or Prince Jesus or Lord Jesus. They're all titles. Christ is a title, it is not a name. You know,
Okay.
so this is where Muhammad got it wrong. He's probably hearing Jesus Christ or Christ Jesus as a name being bandied about by his local community. He's thinking, oh, that must be his name, Christ Jesus. But it's not. Christ means Messiah. It means somebody set out or anointed. That's all it means. Anointed for special purpose. So he's got that wrong. Anybody with entry-level 101 knowledge of the Bible would know that Christ is a title, not a name.
Yeah. It's the same as Messiah.
Yeah, exactly. Messiah is that's the Hebrew version of the Greek translation.
And just to get this straight, the Jews actually thought that there was a Messiah until it turned out that it wasn't.
They're still waiting for the Messiah. That's the point. The anointed, or the one that's going to be anointed by God.
Yeah.
So That's the Hebrew word. Christ is the Greek word, meaning the same thing.
So the tafsir about this says, oh my goodness. And remember when the angels, Gabriel said, "O Mary, Allah give you good tidings, him of a son who shall be the means of a word, whose name is the Messiah, because he travels from one country to another. It is also said the Messiah means the king, Jesus, son of Mary, illustrious in the world. He has standing and position amidst people in life in this world, and hereafter is standing in position with Allah." This is gobbledygook. When the angel said, "Oh, Mary surely gives the good news of a word," okay, this is all the same thing. There's nothing. The Jalalain say mentioned when the angel said, "Oh, Mary, God gives you good tidings of a word from him that is a boy whose name." Okay, so what they're all agreeing with, they're just saying, okay, we are now being introduced to Jesus.
But
That's what I see.
And the thing is, you see, this is one of the discussions when I speak to a Muslim when they want to talk about Jesus, how they respect him. And this isn't apologetics here. Please don't misunderstand. But the point is, when you speak to a Muslim, you can ask, well, why do you call him the Messiah? What does the word Messiah mean? And why do you refer to Jesus as a Messiah? If Muhammad's supposed to be the most important one, the seal of the prophets, the mercy to mankind, and all the pomp and ceremony that you give to him, then why is Jesus called the Messiah?
So maybe he doesn't understand what a Messiah is.
There's the point. That's how you catch him out.
Wow. Okay, let's see what the next one says. He will speak to the people in the cradle, and in maturity will be one of the righteous, and he shall be of the righteous. Now, this is referring to Jesus, right? So
Yeah.
He shall speak to the people in childhood and in... Okay, I don't understand the sentence. Either you have a sentence, he will speak to the people in the cradle, and in maturity will be of the righteous, or it says he shall speak to the people in childhood and in maturity, and he will be righteous.
This is where they have Jesus speaking as a baby, don't they? This is taken up from the Gospel of Jesus or something that was already floating around, some old story about Jesus speaking in the cradle, speaking to people like a grown man. This is what it is. It's taken from Mickey Mouse token story and myth that was floating around in just before, well, it was around before Muhammad was, and he's taken the story, not knowing, he already knows Jesus is this guy that's got this reputation for having miracles around, and God was blessing him with doing things that are out of, you know, out of sync with what people consider normal, raising the dead, feeding thousands of people and such. So he's just not realizing he can't tell the difference between a real story and a false story. He's taken a false story and put it in the Quran. Well, Allah should know better than that. You see, this gives rise to another thing, Stops, that I often consider. Don't Muslims speak upon this? This book is in heaven. It was in heaven before anything was ever created. Now, there is an account, is it in the Quran Hadith, and maybe you can remind me on this, where demons go up to heaven, Allah's heaven, try to hear some of the Quran being recited, then Allah sends missiles, stars at them to scare them away. Yeah,
that's Quran. Yeah,
right. That's in the Quran, right?
Yeah.
So how on earth, if these stories are originating in the Quran and they're in heaven before anything else was created, how do they find themselves in these books before Muhammad was born, if they were first revealed to Muhammad? How did they get from heaven to earth in these other books? How did that happen?
I don't know.
If this story was around before Muhammad was born by about 200, 300 years, so how on earth did it get from heaven to earth? Who brought it to earth and who put it in those storybooks?
This is, I don't know. It doesn't, I don't know, nothing, well, okay, not a lot makes sense here. Come on.
But I mean, it's a question that a Muslim needs to answer. If the Quran is this book made clear, easy to understand, it's a perfect book, how can a perfect book have certain components of that perfect book written in other scriptures before the Quran was actually revealed? I mean, this goes back to that famous. It all started for me with that verse that is in the Talmud about if you kill an innocent, you kill all mankind. If you save an innocent, you save all mankind. You know, this is what we gave the Jews. Well, if it was in heaven before it came to earth, how did it get to earth in the first place?
Like a yo-yo. And the other thing is, if you read the tafsir, I am the servant of Allah and his Messiah after he reaches 30 years old. How do they get this? How do they get to this like very specific age of 30?
That's because, yeah, it was around about 29, 30 when Jesus got baptized in the Jordan. That's where he's getting that from.
Okay, so now they're copying parts of the Bible.
That suits him, yeah, of course. He's
being authentic.
His audience are the Christians, so he's got to try with what his knowledge is, appeal to the Christian audience to win them over.
Okay, so the big thing.
It's a bit like interfaith. This is that classic Islamic way. They've got it from Muhammad. He's trying to do some interfaith. Oh, you believe in Jesus? Yeah, I'm one of his prophets. I believe in Jesus too. He was a prophet sent by God. You believe he was born of a virgin? Yeah, Allah's just told me he was born of a virgin. You believe he had miracles? Of course he had miracles. Allah's told me he's got miracles. I'm in line with you guys. He's trying to win them over like that dodgy salesman. Yeah, you're right. You know, I'm in agreement with you. It's just that Allah sent me as well now. He said you've had him, but I'm now in that line now.
Okay, but can you explain to me why this speaking in the cradle? I mean, come on, why is this a big deal? This is obviously, it's either metaphorical or allegorical. This is just pure nonsense or just a fairy tale.
It's a fairy tale that some people had. There it is. Beach Price put it up. Infancy Gospel of Thomas. There it is. Beach has just put it up on the in the notes. Yes. Infancy Gospel of Thomas. That's where it is. I knew it. I didn't know where it originated, but I knew it was one of those silly little stories that are floating around.
And they also, he shall speak to mankind in the cradle, which is absolute nonsense. I don't know what this is for. Okay, so there's nothing new here. This is just to create some sort of a impression.
Yeah, he's trying to win them over. He's kind of trying to create a dialogue to win them over, some sort of commonality. You know, let's find the things that we've got in common. You know, I'm with you guys. We've got all this in common, and then sort of like trying to make an abridgment between them.
This emotional bond.
Yeah. Because it's appealing on emotion, not logic. Because if it appealed on logic, which is what, interestingly, when you look at it, you can see why he hated the Jews, because the Jews matched him with logic and they can see him for what he really was.
She said, my Lord, okay, who's now she? She said, must be Mary. My Lord, how will I have a child when no man has touched me? Okay, this is the story that I was referring to earlier. How will I have a child when no man has touched me? Such is Allah. He creates what he wills. When he decrees a matter, he only says to it, be, and it is. And Yusuf Ali says the same thing. So this is the story that I was talking about earlier, where Mary is supposed to be the virgin, and she needs to be protected. And this is just a repetition. Wow, God is so great. Some of the loving ones. Okay, I think we don't need to go. May God protect us from blasphemy. Yeah. Any other questions, comments?
No, not from me.
Mary 12 and Joseph 90 in the Bible. Yeah, but Joseph didn't have sex with Mary.
That's a load of bollocks. Yeah, again, this is a typical Muslim that's gone to the Talmud to get his understanding of what the Bible teaches. The Mickey Mouse token Muslims like him don't go to the Bible to get information from the Bible. They have to go to external sources like the Talmud because it appeals to their narrative. He's got to say that Mary was 9 and Joseph was 90, because who's he trying to appeal to now? He's trying to water down the significance, if you like, of Muhammad being 54 years old when he penetrated Aisha at 9. And it's basically, well, you know, the Talmud says this about Mary and Joseph, you know, so Muhammad being 54 and Aisha 9 isn't as bad as Mary being 4.
It's a strawman. Who the fuck cares? What the? No, if the Bible is wrong, does it make the Quran better? If the Bible is right, does it make the Quran worse? How can you create a correlation there? It doesn't matter whether Mary was 12 and Joseph was 90. The question is it right to have sex with a 9-year-old girl? That is the question. Is it right to have sex with a 12-year-old girl? No. That's how easy it is. It doesn't matter how old the guy is, and it doesn't matter what book it's in. It is wrong. It's historical fact. Yeah. Okay. In 348, it says he will teach him writing and wisdom and the Torah and the gospel. Okay. Now, which version of the Torah and the gospel? And, you know, I've always got Muslims telling me the gospel and Injil, this is not the same thing. It is very, very wrong, because the Injil is only the four and the gospel. No, sorry, the Injil is the complete book, and the gospels are only the four, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. It's quite weird. So he will teach him writing. So who is he? He will teach him writing. My Lord, how is it fit for me to boy? And it becomes, so God created the boy, and then he will teach him the book. Does this mean God will teach Jesus the book?
Well, this is where the Muslims are. Yeah, again, Muhammad's trying to. He doesn't understand what the word gospel means. He thinks the gospel is actually a physical book, like the Torah was, or David's Psalms was actually.
But he thinks it was the message given to Jesus, which is also bollocks.
But let's not go into that. But the point is, let's look at what Muhammad's trying to say. He's trying to basically say that that Jesus had a book, and that book was called gospel. That's what he's trying to get at. And that's why Muslims say you don't even have the book that Jesus wrote, the gospel, because they think it's actually a literal book, not realizing gospel means good news. That's why they, you know, there is this discrepancy between Islam and Christianity, because Islam doesn't understand the words that other religions use. It takes these words and then it reinvents what the word means. It's like the word miracle. You speak to a Muslim, and you know they think words on a piece of paper, forming sentences and paragraphs, to them is a miracle. Well, anyone can write that. Anyone can. There's nothing miraculous about taking symbols that are letters, put them into words, put those words into sentences, and those sentences into paragraphs. There's nothing miraculous about that. But to the Muslim, it's a miracle.
That's why they have to make him say these things in the cradle. Writing the lawful and the prohibited, as it says, the wisdom of the prophets who preceded him, and the Torah, in the womb of his mother, and the gospel after he came out of the mother's womb. Okay. So this guy, Ibn Abbas, is saying that he, God, will teach him, Jesus, the scriptures of past prophets, writing, the lawful and the prohibited. Okay, that's cool. As it said, this means the wisdom of the prophets who preceded him, and the Torah, which preceded him in the womb. So he was taught the wisdom of the prophets who preceded him in the womb of his mother. So while he was a fetus, he was already taking lessons, so that there was a teacher who taught him the wisdom and the Torah. And then when he was born, boof, within 1 minute, he had a teacher who taught him the gospel, the whole book. Yeah. Man, these guys can make up stories. Oh boy. Okay. But now, if it says that he was taught the Torah and the gospel, was he taught the wrong version or the correct version? Because it was corrupted. So which version was he given, I wonder?
Only a Muslim can answer that. It'd have to be the wrong version, which is why Islam came along to correct it. That's the whole point, isn't it?
Oh, it's true. Okay, so we have the whole story again and again, so this doesn't really help. He will teach him writing and wisdom and the Torah and the gospel. So it must be the wrong version, because you're right. 600 years later, along comes Muhammad and corrects everything, because God knew this, but he had to first run through this. No, okay, I don't need to go through this. All right, let's go to the next one, 49. And a messenger, and make him. This is missing in the corpus, make him doesn't exist, and a messenger to the children of Israel. A messenger to the children of Israel. The children of Israel, is that the Jews?
Yeah.
I don't know why it doesn't say. Indeed, I have come to you with a sign from your Lord, and that I designed for you from clay, like the form of a bird. Then I breathe into it, and it becomes a bird by permission of Allah. So Allah is not the only creator. This Jesus guy is also a creator, because he can create birds from, well, which is an inorganic into organic life forms. And I cure the blind and the leper, and I give life to the dead. Okay, so he can do magic tricks by permission of Allah. So he has to go, can I do my magic trick? Allah says, yes, boy, you can do that. Boof, and he does it. Great. And inform you of what you eat and what you store in your houses. Indeed, that is a sign. Exactly. This is why I said this is a political ideology, because you are told what you're allowed to eat, what you're allowed to do, what everything looks like. So this is the formation of society. This is why this is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, can you stop arguing about evolution? This is not, I mean, evolution is, who cares about evolution? It doesn't matter what evolution is. All right, so that's it.
Yeah, Beach prices. Yeah, thank you, Beach. You're bringing out points I've forgotten. Yeah, you're right. The bird stories in the infancy of gospel as well. Gospel of Thomas. Thank you for that.
Oh, was that also copied?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I have come confirming that was before me the Torah to make lawful. Okay, what was before me of the Torah? Well, if he confirms it, it can't be wrong. And to make lawful for you some of what was forbidden to you. So he's going to change. So God says, you're not allowed this. And now Jesus comes along and says, no, I'm going to change that. So Jesus is more powerful than God. That's interesting. And I have come to you with a sign from your Lord, so fear Allah and obey me. Oh, obey me. Who is this speaking?
This must be Allah speaking in the part of Muhammad, because I like the way it says there, so fear Allah and obey me. So fear Allah and obey me. You see, that's a difficult one. See, me and you have a slight disagreement on the Quran. You know, when it uses the royal we, you say it's speaking in the majestic sense. I don't. I think that's Muhammad speaking on the part of Allah, or Allah speaking on part of Muhammad as a duality. That when they use the word we, because it says here, fear Allah and obey me. So it's like you fear God, but you obey me. So it's like Muhammad points his finger to the heavens, if like for illustrative purposes. He's pointed to his finger to them and said, you obey Allah. And then he's pointing to himself and says, but you obey me. That's
okay, but in the previous sentence, I thought this is about Jesus. No, a messenger to the children of Israel. I thought this is talking about Jesus.
I don't know what your Quran does, but every now and again, it's almost like it's in sections, because I've got a big gap here, bigger between the verses, about an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter. It's almost like that the narrative of Jesus is now finished. A new narrative is being set up here, or a new section within this chapter talking about something completely different. Or
okay, let me see what Rashid Khalifa says. God creates, I've done, he will teach him scripture, wisdom, Torah, messenger of children. As a messenger to the children of Israel, I come to you with a sign from your Lord. This is Jesus speaking. I create for you from clay the shape of a bird. Then I blow into it and it becomes a live bird by God's leave. So this is Jesus speaking. I reveal vision to the blind, I heal the leprous, and I revive the dead by God's leave. I can tell you what you eat and what you store in your homes. This should be a proof for you if you are believers. So this is clearly Jesus speaking.
Sorry, I'm on 30. I was on 50. Sorry. So you're on 49 and I'm on 50 already.
And now I'm on 50. On 50, this is still Jesus speaking. I confirm previous scripture, the Torah. I revoke certain prohibitions imposed onto you. I come to you with sufficient proof from your Lord. Therefore, you shall observe God and obey me. Wow. This is really what it says. This is Jesus speaking, who says, observe God and obey me. Fuck, this is okay. I'm sorry. I never realized this. I've never read this. I went over this, and I always read this as fear Allah and obey me, as Allah speaking. So fear me, God, and obey me, God. But this is Jesus saying, I confirm, I make lawful what was forbidden to you from God. So God says you're not allowed to eat shrimps. Okay, this is what it says in the Bible. Now Jesus comes along and says, no, it's okay. You can eat shrimps, but you can't eat pork. Oh no, the Jews also says pork. What does Islam prohibit that the Jews allow? Music. No, it doesn't. Oh, shit. What does Islam prohibit that the Jews allow?
Music.
Well, the Quran doesn't prohibit music. It doesn't mention music anyway. I can't think of anything, because the Jews also prohibit adultery and all this other stuff.
The treating women with dignity. Islam prohibits that. Islam does not allow a man to treat his wife with dignity.
No, it's the other way around. What do the Jews prohibit that the Quran allows?
Okay, the Jews prohibit a man to beat his wife. The Jews prohibit a man to treat his wife with contempt.
Okay, so he takes the Torah, which says you are prohibited from beating your wife, and then makes it lawful. And now Muslims follow what Jesus is saying and not what God is saying. Wow. Okay, this is a heavy sentence. I need you to remember this. So we're in chapter 3, and this is sentence number 50. I, Jesus, have come to you with a sign from your Lord, Allah. So fear Allah and obey me, Jesus. Huh. Okay. Wow. All right. If I'm understanding this the right way, then this is quite heavy. That they must obey Jesus. I wonder what Christian Prince says, something like this. Oh, yes. Okay. And Yusuf Ali also says, attest the law which was before me to make lawful you part of what was forbidden. I've come to you with a sign, fear Allah, obey me. And the corpus, okay, I need to see this really word for word. Okay. Before me of the Torah and what I make lawful for you, some of that which was forbidden to you. I have come to you with a sign from Rab, your Lord. So fear Allah and obey me. Unbelievable. Okay, I did not know that the Quran says you need to obey Jesus. Okay, that's heavy. Wow. Okay, let's go to the next one, 351. But I'm totally shocked, eh? Indeed, Allah is my Lord Allah is my Lord and your Lord, so worship him, that is the straight path. Yeah, but you need to obey me. Okay. Any comments from your side?
Sorry, I was speaking and then my mic was on mute. No, I've got no comments to make. It's pretty much self-explanatory.
But when Jesus felt disbelief, he said, who are my supporters for Allah? The disciples said, we are supporters for Allah. We have believed in Allah, testify that we are Muslims.
But the word Muslim did not exist until what? 100 years, 200 years after Muhammad?
Yeah. Yeah, but hang on. It says when Jesus found unbelief. In other words, we're talking now about 2,000 years ago, okay? So Jesus found unbelief. He said, who will be my helpers? To Allah. And then some disciples, I suppose these are the 12, we are Allah's helpers. We believe in Allah, and do thou bear witness that we are Muslims. Well, how can they be Muslims? Muslims is somebody who submits. Muslim is the submitter. So that we are submitters. Yeah, this could be. This is just a translation issue. This is not really Muslims. This is just that we are the submitters. We are Allah's helpers. We submit to Allah. So this is all the same thing. So you could say we are Allah's helpers could also mean we are Muslims. We believe in Allah. You could also say here we are Muslims. So
but they wouldn't have said that we are helpers or anything like that. They would have used the word. I mean, it wouldn't say, even if Jesus turns around, if you look at the Islamic narrative, it says that Jesus found his own belief on their part. Who would be my helpers in the word? We are Allah's helpers. We believe in Allah. We bear witness that we are helpers. That doesn't make sense, because the word for helper is clearly different in the first part as to the concluding part, where another word is used for the word Muslim.
Yeah, so but he says, who will be my helpers? And they said, we are the helpers.
So what word is translated into Muslims at the end of 52 then? What's the Arabic equivalent?
That we are submitters to Allah.
Submitters. So
and we are submitters. Because it says here, look at Sahih International. It says, we are Muslims, and then in brackets, submitting to him.
Yeah, but that's telling you what the word Muslim means. But what was the word used? What was the actual word used in this narrative?
Ah, this we can look up, yeah. Muslimuna.
Yeah, so the word Muslim was used then.
This would be Muslims. So maybe this is where the word comes from, the submitters to Allah.
But the word is not known. There was no word that I have found in anyone's research, or even in my own research, that the word Muslim was around. That means that you submit. Because if you think about it, during the period of the Jahiliyyah, there would have been no need for the word Muslim, would there?
No.
Because there was no one submitting. And who would have used the word? It would have been a word, if it did exist, already in existence, and you'd have various writings using the word Muslim. So the word Muslim would not be anything new. It would have just been used.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It was hijacked later from people. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh my God, this is such a bit. Okay, I want to see Muhammad Hijab versus Stop. Oh yeah. Okay. Is that why Stops avoids him? I avoid anyone? I don't avoid anyone. I've never spoken to Hijab. I've spoken to Subur. Subur doesn't want to talk to me. He's avoiding me. He's running from me. I was supposed to speak to, what's this guy's name? Imran Hussein. But then he ran away. Adnan Rashid came on. He ran away. What's the guy who hates me like anything else? Kevin. What's his name now? Al-Andalusi or something. He is running away from me, even though he said that he will debate me. No. So the only one who actually did was this funny guy who's paying money to people so that they will debate him. I forgot his name. Nadir Ahmed. He's just what?
He's a joke. I know. It's more humane watching a baby seal get clubbed than watching a Nadir Ahmed debate. He gets clubbed brutally every time.
Okay, but I'm sorry for my delay.
It shouldn't be allowed on YouTube. It should be banned because it's violence of a disproportionate violence I've never seen before.
How do we get on to crashing Islamic apologists as opposed to reading verses in the Quran?
So anyway, and then this other guy who did this was this Boma guy, and I mean that was pathetic. So these are the only people who ever came and actually took me up on it. But all these other guys, I'm definitely not avoiding anybody. Anybody can come and chat to me. Really, it's no problem. So if you've got anybody, bring them in, no problem. So we have actually. Rob, I need to go back one. I mean, this is the shock for me that I have never in my life seen before. Okay, let's start on 49, just to give you the context. Okay, now let's just go to Yusuf Ali. What we're talking about is Jesus. Okay, and a messenger to the children of Israel. This is Jesus. Okay, so Jesus is the messenger to the children of Israel. I have come to you with a sign from your Lord, that I make out of you clay, as it were, the figure of a bird, breathe into it, and becomes a bird by Allah's leave. So he's creating birds. And I heal those born blind and the lepers, and I quicken the dead by Allah's leave. So this is obviously Jesus, right? And I declare to you what you eat, what you store in your houses. Surely therein is a sign for you if you did believe. So this is Jesus talking, right? Do you agree?
Sounds like it, yeah.
I healed those born blind and the lepers and so on. Okay, so this is Jesus. Now listen to what the next sentence says. And I have come, which to me means Jesus, confirming what was before me of the Torah. And we were talking about, well, what version of the Torah might he be speaking of? Is this the corrected one? Is this the wrong one? Is this the one that will be corrected by the Quran? We don't know. And to make lawful for you some of what was forbidden to you. So if the Torah says you're not allowed to beat your wives, I'm now making it lawful that you can beat your wives. So Jesus corrects some of the things that God decreed and changes them. And it says, and I have come to you with a sign from your Lord, so fear Allah and obey me.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the tafsir there. So Jesus is saying, follow him, obey what he says.
Yes. And the tafsir of Abbas clearly says, obey me and follow my command and religion.
And what is Jesus' command and religion? Is it the same as Allah's, or is it different?
Well, this is exactly the point. Because if now you are saying, well, it's quite obvious that Jesus is a Muslim and he is preaching only what Allah decreed and Islam, then it's obvious. But
okay, but
in the Quran that he was given the gospel. So he is preaching the gospel.
Hang on a moment. Let's just look at Yusuf Ali here, right? So Yusuf Ali says, I have come to you to attest the law which was before me, and to make lawful to you part of what was forbidden to you, right? So presumably what was forbidden was corruption. So he's come to make lawful part of maybe what is forbidden, which was corruption. I have come to you with a sign from your Lord. So fear Allah and obey me. In other words, fear the power of God and obey what I'm saying, right? Because obviously what what they claim he's referring to is, so fear Yahweh and obey me, essentially.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't have, something wasn't corrupted. No, so what, maybe what, it's not corrupted. I take that back. It wasn't corrupted, made forbidden to you before. So maybe what he's trying to say is, hey, something like the 10 commandments, certain things were forbidden, or other commandments, right? Or maybe slavery or whatever it was, right? I've come along and I'm making lawful to you things that were previously forbidden or unlawful, right? What are those things?
Well, this is just in general. This is just part of what was. Doesn't really matter.
So fear Allah and obey me. So in other words, yeah, fear God and obey me because I'm his messenger, right? That's the way I'm reading Yusuf Ali. How are you reading it?
But it doesn't say that. It says fear Allah. So be fearful of God, but you need to obey me. Yeah,
but that's the same way that Muhammad spoke, right? Or Allah spoke through Muhammad, right? Yeah, so obey my prophets and fear me.
Yes, but Jesus says he has made lawful some of the things that were forbidden by this Allah.
Yeah, so he's come along and changed it. I mean, I think some Christians believe that, right? That Jesus has come to make a new covenant. So is he referring to that in some way?
So this for me is any sentence.
He's not. Thunderous, you're saying he's not?
No, not from the Islamic recension, because from the Islamic recension, it's a case of prophets keep coming, and then the people don't believe. They don't see, the Muslims don't believe in the covenant because they don't believe in original sin. So they can't believe in the covenant, can they, if there's no original sin? So the Muslims, from their recension, 123,000 prophets went beforehand, before Muhammad, and nobody was listening to these prophets up until Muhammad, and Muhammad's going to be the one that unites everybody. Because you see, from the Islamic recension, all those prophets went to people of their own kind. Oh, they went to the Greek-speaking people, so that was their prophet. They went to the Chinese-speaking. I'm not saying the language was there, but for the sake of this discussion, the Chinese speakers over there, so that they had their prophet. The Hindu speakers had their prophet. The Malawi speakers had their prophet. But me as a prophet, I'm coming for all mankind. That's the point, because the other prophets weren't listened to, but everybody's going to listen to me because I'm coming for everybody.
Yeah, and I mean the tafsirs here are saying that he was confirming what came before me in the Torah to make lawful to you something that was forbidden. And what they can claiming here is that he's making lawful for them fish and birds which had no spikes. That's what Jalalain is saying. Abbas is saying meat of the camels and fat of the bovines and sheep. So he's coming to change certain things that they weren't allowed to have before. I'm not sure where they get that from.
But not the pig. He's got to say the camel and things like that, because that's exactly what was banned in the Torah that the Muslims were eating. So Muhammad couldn't come along and say as a new religion, oh yeah, by the way, you know that food that we eat over there, that camel, that's actually unclean. Because he knew that wouldn't win people over. That was one of their staples as far as diet was concerned. You know, it's kind of obvious what he was doing here. He was he had to appeal to them at every possible level for him to. If he came to establish what was already written, two things happens there. One, he gets rejected because he's establishing nothing, because they would have recognized him for what he was, a liar and a fraud and a charlatan. So for those that did accept him through their ignorance, he's got to appeal to them, all of them, by recognizing some of the things that they did worship, or that was a part of their worship, the Jews, the Christians, and the pagans and Zoroastrians that were there at the same time, and almost like graft little bits and pieces of each one of those into, of each one of those religions and faiths that were there, and amalgamate it into one. He's not going to win people over if he turns around and says, actually, those camels over there, you can't eat them anymore, even though that's partly main diet, because that was actually banned in the Mosaic law as well. So you have to ask the question: if the pig is not allowed to be eaten, as far as the Jews concerned, and neither is the camel, then why did Muhammad come along and say, well, we can eat the camel now, but we can't eat the pig? Why was that animal separated from the other one? What was the justification for that?
I don't know from the Islamic point of view what the justification is. Presumably,
there is no justification. There is they'll turn around and make some bullshit up. Oh, the pig is a dirty animal. The pig is a dirty animal.
Yeah,
I mean, there is even Zakir Naik on YouTube saying that when you eat pigs, you behave like a pig. This is why Westerners do wife swapping, because pigs, they swap their mates and have sex with different mates. This is why Westerners, the Western world who eat pig, they swap their mates, they swap their marriage, they swap their wives, they let each other sleep with their own wives because they behave like the pig, because they eat like a pig.
Okay.
And that's on YouTube. You can look it up. I think even David Wood has one of those episodes on his channel.
So the main thing here is he's claiming that he's come along to make lawful things, and it seems to be, it's like you say, it's some of these things, these fish, birds, camels, fatter bovines, etc. And said he made it all lawful for them.
Yeah, whatever was their diet happened to be what became lawful, and what wasn't their diet, they didn't eat.
Yes, exactly.
They get banned, if you like. They were still prohibited.
So stops with this then. Is there something that sort of, because it seemed to me what caught your eye was the Sahih International translation, or was there?
No, fear Allah, obey me.
Yeah.
Yes, what I said to earlier to Stops was, it's almost like if you imagine the scene, Muhammad's pointing his finger to the heaven saying, fear Allah, but then he's pointing the finger to himself and saying, obey me. And I think that's the image that Stops has in his mind. Certainly that's the case of Muhammad later on as we read through the Quran what was happening.
Okay. I mean, it seems to me it's just a case of him, this being supposedly Jesus now speaking, saying fear God or fear Yahweh originally, if we go back to the original scriptures, and obey me, right? And that's been translated, so fear Allah and obey me. But I've come to you with a sign from your Lord. So I'm not sure. Stops. Are you seeing like a contradiction or something that's problematic here in that sense?
For me, it is problematic that Jesus will say, I am able to make lawful something for you which God has prohibited to you, and you need to still be afraid of God, but obey me.
I'm just thinking that, you know, again, if we take the Muslim narrative, at that stage, there may have been something that was forbidden, right? That was then made lawful, right? And Jesus, being a prophet who's been given the message by God, who potentially might have changed his mind, or something might have happened that whatever he said before, he's now allowed Jesus to come along and say to people, hey, I'm changing certain things that were unlawful in the past. Again, that's just my extrapolation from this verse without any other context around it. But I'm not seeing that as being particularly problematic, because if we put in the word, if we say this was Muhammad, I don't know that we would have a problem here, or would we? If
Yes.
we replace the word the person
Making
Jesus with Muhammad,
something which-
would it still be a query for you, or would you sort of be, okay, that's what Muhammad would have said in those days?
It's the same thing, that somebody can make lawful what a God forbade. And that it says, fear Allah, but obey me. So it doesn't matter who it is, somebody is putting himself on top of God.
Yeah, but I think the Muslims, and if I just look at the tafsirs here, that's when he says make lawful, what's kind of, they will argue, is inferred and left out here is Allah making it lawful for him to do this. It's not like he's taking it on himself. So presumably they won't say, hey, he's doing this in and of himself and he's sort of putting himself above God. What they would argue is that you got to quite read between the lines. I'm just playing devil's advocate and going, what that means is that God is making lawful via Jesus, and Jesus is saying it like as if he's doing it, but of course he is a prophet of God. So in actual fact, he's speaking on behalf of God. It's just the verse doesn't say that.
No, but what was before forbidden to you? So who forbade it? God. And now
Correct.
I'm coming along and saying, no, I'm changing it.
Well, I'm changing it, but it's not expressed here, but I'm sure they would argue by the will of God.
Okay. All right. Cool. I just saw this as, I find this problematic.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly doesn't say it in there, right? That's true. But I'm sure that's what they would try and infer there, that obviously Jesus is not going against the law of God, right? So what he's making lawful is through the permission of God, but it's not actually expressly stated there. But again, that would be much clearer if it was clearly stated there, right?
Yeah. Okay, will you take over the presentation? I can go get some water.
Well, we're at 10 now, so shall we do a hadith of the day, or do you want to continue?
Okay, then we can, because we were two further. I just went back to this one because I found this very interesting. Where was I here? So we were already on 52.
So you finished on 52. All right, I'll leave it at 53 and I'll save that here for next time. So if you've got a hadith of the day, and since you are screen sharing, if you want to do that, and then we can call it an evening.
Okay, then let's do this. So I've actually got two. One is a very short one. It is in Bukhari 1, book 3, number 77. When I was a boy of 5, I remember the Prophet took water from a bucket and used for getting water out of a well with his mouth. Now, when I was a boy of 5, I remember the Prophet took water from a bucket with his mouth and threw it on my face.
How does he do that?
I don't know.
Squirted it, maybe.
Yeah, it's through. But this is number 77 in volume 1, book 3. Another one, which is quite nice, is in book 19, Hadith 32, or 1839, depending on which version you're looking at. Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, of course, says that you are the best of the people ever raised up for the benefit of mankind. This is in the Quran. What he makes of this is the best for mankind are those who bring them with chains around their necks until they embrace Islam.
Or isn't that a nice, peaceful way to do things, right?
Yes. And I thought I will leave you with this thought.
Yes, there we go. The religion of peace. Not peaceful.
Not so peaceful today, no.
Brilliant. With that, as always, I want to thank my amazing, knowledgeable co-hosts, Stop Spamming and Thunderous. To all of you viewers, thank you so much. And we will see you again next Friday, same time, where we will hopefully continue on.
All right, guys. See you next week. Cheers. Bye-bye. And if anybody has an explanation for this thing that I find problematic, let us know.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Good night to everybody. See you next week.